Welcome to the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast. I'm Eric Charlson, and this is episode 9.
Yeah, I didn't start even riding till I was 65 years old.
The first board I rode was this plastic Sims one tops with a skate deck.
Snowboarding is exactly the same as it used to be. It's just, everybody wants something from it.
I don't know if I can endure any more shitty winters.
We're going to be okay, and that's all that matters.
You can put it away for a while, but you can't put it away forever because it's just almost like a spiritual thing.
This week we talked to Regis Rolland, whose decision to move to Les Arcs in the French Alps changed snowboarding's history forever.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the story, in fact. I came in Les Arcs to be a ski instructor, all right, because I'm coming from the ski racing in competition. And when I was 19, I went up to Les Arcs 1800. So I teach like 1 year in 1800, and the year after, 20 ski instructor was choiced to go to Les Arcs 2000 to open the new center of Les Arcs 2000. We were in the only hotel in Les Arcs 2000.
Les Arcs is one of the premier ski and snowboard destinations in the French Alps, with 5 different resorts. Les Arcs 2000 was first developed in 1979 at 2,000 meters elevation.
And one day, I was teaching with my client, and I saw some guy cross to a snow, to a board, but I never saw that before, even in a magazine. You know what I mean? I didn't know snowboard was existing. It's important for you to understand that, because we were in 1982, and I was a professional, and I never saw that. So, in fact, those guy has been invited by Alain Guémard, and Alain Guémard was a guide, and his job was to do the marketing of the new way of riding, like monoski, snowboard, and stuff. For him, he discovered the sport when he was coming back from US in a plane. The book in the plane, he saw a snowboarder from Winterstick. It was an article. So he called them, and we invite the Winterstick team to come up to Les Arcs 2000 in 1982. So one day, they take all the ski instructors, like 20 people, and, they had some boards, some Winterstick, and they take us riding, And for sure, it was very difficult because it was full powder, very heavy powder, and we just couldn't turn. Turning in powder, it's very difficult. So after 5 weeks, those guys left. Before that, I just bought a board, and what I was doing after my lesson at 5 in the afternoon, I was walking up the mountain and trying to turn. And I did that like all the winter, and I couldn't turn because, as I said, it's very difficult to turn in powder. I got so pissed that I said, okay, I'm going to do straight down. So I went straight down in a black run, and I take some speed, and I lean forward, and I make a nice long turn. I lean back, and I did a nice backside. So in 1 second, in 2 seconds, I discovered the turns. You know what I mean? It was crazy. And the chance I had, at this time, I didn't know Alain Guémard, in fact. And Alain Guémard was coming up the chairlift just up to me, and he saw me doing my first turn. And the day after, it was at noon, I was in the restaurant, and he said, is that you that I saw yesterday doing so 2 nice turns? Good. Fantastic. So he said, okay, next year I want to promote monoskiing and snowboarding, and I want to do a movie next year. So let's keep in contact and blah blah blah. So it's how it started. The first movie that we did in winter of 1983 was called Ski Espace. Paul Loxton, which was part of the guy who came with the Winterstick team, was also riding with me. Yeah, plus, Les Arcs was a new ski resort. It was an independent ski resort. So in terms of marketing and money, they had a lot of money. What was good, it's as soon as we started to do the first movie, so it was monoski, skiing, snowboarding, and we did so much heli because I was using the heli a lot, like every day. As soon as we had powder, the heli was there at 7:30 in the morning, and I did so much. So it's for that I could progress big way. But at this time, even until the 90s, for sure, I was the guy who did the most in derivation. And I think, but the original idea was from Alain Guémard, and then the idea was that I was a genius of the slide, and bad guy who wants to get the secret of the slide. It has been that all the way down,
I invite our listeners to pause the podcast here if you've never seen Apocalypse Snow, and look it up on YouTube. It's there as Apocalypse Snow, Le Film 1983. The film received a lot of recognition in film festivals, and Regis became a French celebrity.
When we came with Apocalypse 1, people in Paris, I remember when they saw the movie, they got crazy. You know, the film was showed in a big theater and with like 4,000 or 5,000 people. And when they saw Apocalypse 1, it was just nuts. Because, you know, I've been in the business for 30 years, now 33 years. And everywhere in the world, Apocalypse is still what's changing the way of sliding the snow. I was the only one able to ride. That's it. All my friends, they were very good skiers, coming from the competition like me. And when monoski came, it's easier for a skier to be able to do monoski quick. But snowboard, when I told you that when the winter stick came in Les Arcs, it was in January 82, and I did my first turn in April. I was trying that every fucking day. My friend Lino bought also a winter stick, but he broke it right away, so he had no snowboard. The level I got was because I did one more time helicopter, and I was so far away compared to anybody in the world that because of that. After I did all those movies, I started business, so then I was not riding so much, but I was boss of my company and I was working every day. Like my pro career stopped in 1988. In fact, US was very far from us. At this time, we had no communication. The fax was not existing. So when you wanted to connect with US or Japan or whatever, you had to do a normal letter or a call maybe. So we had no news from what was going on in USA, for example. Like Terry Kidwell and all those guys was starting half-pipe in 1985, 1986. And we didn't know. So for me, this is a part of the sport that I never did. Like I never did any freestyle or grabbing a board. I was not doing that. I was a specialist of freeriding, big mountain freeriding, in fact, because I was a competition skier, slalom and giant slalom. So I use the technique of the ski cross to a snowboard. So it makes you going like I was not side slipping. I was rebounding. You know what I mean. So I adapt my ski technique to the board. And then I did so many hours and months of snowboarding that I could get good.
Regis filmed 6 movies in 6 years and got to ride POW almost every day of the winter. And while he traveled the world, he saw that Europe was much more accepting of snowboarding than the U.S. in the early 80s.
So when we went to USA to do Apocalypse 3, it was in year 1986. And for example, in Lac Tao, in Heavenly, I couldn't go riding. So I came up to chairlift. I was, on foot, no snowboard, I was with my friends, so I just went with them just to be with them, but I couldn't ride. Squaw Valley, it was a little bit better, but in fact, US, all the 80s was a difficult period for them. In France, at the beginning of the 80s, you had to have small ski to come up the ski lift. So I had small ski in my backpack. You can see that in Ski Espace. Rapidly, we could ride everywhere. In France, in the 80s, it was cool. I mean, for sure, sometimes it was difficult. It depends what resort, but it started from 86, 87, 88. Then it was you could ride everywhere.
Drawn to Lake Tahoe by the train gap you may remember from the Fall Line film Easy Rider. That's the one where Temple Cummings and Andy Hetzel jump a moving freight train. Regis and Alain Guimard saw an American skier jump the train in the early 80s and wanted to track the guy down to film with them for Apocalypse 3.
It's an American guy, and he did that. We saw that in the movie that he did before us. So we get in contact with him. What is funny is, he wanted to go from down compared to us. And we tell him, are you sure you will get enough speed to pass? He said, yeah, I will have enough speed. We said, you are sure? More 30, 35 meters long, and very impressive. And so I was giving the departure with the radio, and so when my friend Jean-Michel Zucchi went, so he pushed on his pulse, and then I sent the American guy, so he put his keys down to the clicker, but he was too slow and to do this backflip. And from the top, we saw a ski hit the top of the train, right? And from the top, we didn't see the train, but we see the ski coming up to us with vibration, we say, fuck, he's dead. This guy is dead. He's in pieces,
As his run of movies came to an end, Regis turned to building a snowboard brand. something he would do for the next 3 decades.
Yeah, in fact, in 1986, I started my own company with a friend of mine. So we started to do Swallowtail, and then we did some all-around board and pipe board, in fact. But in 1989, we had problem with snow. We came to New York. So we put our factory in 3 containers and we crossed the Atlantic. We did start a new factory upstate New York. Yeah, Jimmy Scott, Andy and Jack Cagland. Yeah, we had a good team. But, it was still difficult to make good products. And then after 2 years, we left because Jack Lynn didn't have enough capital to keep going. But then he quit and he's starting to produce some binding for Ride. At least, I've been learning how to do business during the 90s. And then, I did keep going until now. At this time, for me, just with my name, for sure, it helps a lot because during the 80s and 90s, I was still a star. I was very known, at least in France, in Europe, maybe not much in the US, in Europe, and especially in France. It was kind of easy. Plus, I had David Vincent. But then we had a team of riders like Axel Poporté, Stéphane Routin. I had a lot of riders. So, I was making money. So I put like 10 to 15% in marketing and communication and events. And so we were doing good business. And then I sold my business to Grand Chavin, which was Hot and Hammer Snowboard, because he had a factory, so we crossed, so it was kind of good. And then Rossignol bought Grand Chavin product, the help of Rossignol 3 years, and then they give up, they quit, and it's where I restart Apo in 2003. Now, that Apo, as it's finished, I was bought out in year 2010 by some Russian investors. We did 4 years with them, and, then they couldn't do it, whatever. For 16 months, I'm just enjoying life. I do a lot of splitboard. I did some stand-up paddle all summer, every day. I recover. I am in very good shape today. And I am... thinking about restarting a story, but I'm not sure I'm going to go. It depends of the balance sheet, business plan and stuff. But I'm working for 1 year on something. I think, we'll see next year. But if I do something, it's going to be in freeride, like high-end product and speedboard. I want to travel light. You know what I mean? If you split to do couloir and stuff, you maybe better to ride with hard boots. But the new hard boots, because the new hard boots from Skittery are very light, in fact, and very soft. Not a real hard boots today. And there is also something which is coming. It's 3-part and 4-parts for speedboard, which is very good because when you come up, you have narrow ski under your feet, and it's very good. I was in Chile this year for 1 month, and I did some volcano. And over there, volcanoes are getting a lot of winds, so you get ice, snow. And with the 2 parts, it's difficult. When you get like 25, 30 degrees, and when it's ice, it's better to have narrow ski for sure. I went there with a prototype in 3 parts, and it's fantastic. I really believe that 3-part, 4-parts will be the future. And it's always the same. When you splitboard, you spend 95% of the time coming up and 5% down, okay? Okay, no problem. Thanks to you. Talk soon. Ciao.
Thanks to Templeton Gray for the music in today's episode. Our first live show at the Chair 9 Pub in Glacier, Washington is February 19th at 3 p.m. I'm so excited about the potential guests that we have lined up. Come join us. It's going to be a good time. FNRad is brought to you by BR Productions.